see. All right, so right now we're looking at the home page of the the ADS portal. The portal is available to the general public. So if you don't log in, you do still have access to quite a few tabs along the top navigation bar. I'm logged in as Nicole. Nicole has filer access, data requester access. She's a company admin. So we're going to see a lot more information, and that's just to give you the holistic view of all that you've got. But understand that if you just register a new user, which we're going to show in a moment, you'll have a more limited perspective. But to start, we've got the homepage here. If I scroll down on the homepage, we've got some information about the PUC ADS portal. Scroll down a little bit. There's a lot on the homepage. And if I click on organizations from the navigation bar, this is going to bring me to a list of organizations within ADS. So I can scroll down and take a look at this list. I can search for a particular organization here. There's Nexus Electric. I can click on the organization to open it. I can also click on this caret view details, and that's going to bring me to the organization page as portal users or the public facing portal views it. So now I'm looking at Nexus Electric, the organization from the public side. So you can see what information I have access to here. You can see any PUC activities that Nexus Electric has initiated. All right, so that's organizations. If I click on PUC activities, it's a pretty similar deal. Now we're getting a list of PUC activities or dockets that are in the ADS. So I have the ability to filter. Saw that on the previous page as well, but I have the ability to filter this view by certain criteria. We've got a date range that I can select if I just want to see records that are relatively new. It's sorted by created on a descending order. So I am seeing the newer PUC activities at the top. There's ES25 from, I believe, 2 days ago. So if I wanted to open the PUC activity, same thing, I can click on it right here. I can also click on it from the caret over here. So I'll open up ES25 quick. So now we're seeing the PUC activity as the portal sees it. It's a limited perspective compared to what PUC internal users see on their side. But we've got some general information. I can subscribe to a PUC activity by clicking this button here. Some more general information about the PUC activity, actions associated to it, etc. Next, we've got all actions. Now, I can click on all actions and it's going to bring me to a list of action records within the system. I can open any action record to view it. I can filter my search criteria if I wanted to filter it down a little bit to be more specific. Maybe I only wanted to look at briefs. I can search for a particular action record here. And if I wanted to, I can click on the caret to view the details of that action record specifically. Because I have access as a filer to my organization, I have the ability to submit a new action. Dave's going to walk us through registering a new user and the different access requests that you can submit to gain filer, data requester, administrator, or read-only access within the system. Next, we've got events. Right, so any events that are published within ADS are going to appear in this list here. I can search for a particular event. I can click here to open it. And if I scroll down, I can see a calendar view of events. So right now in this month view, I can see that we've got one event coming up. That's that staff workshop that we actually looked at earlier because it's for that PUC activity. But this will give me any event upcoming. All right, we've got public meetings. We've got upcoming and archived. I'll click on upcoming public meetings to give us a view. So now I can see a list of any public meetings that we've got upcoming, any information on them. I can click here to view details, or I can click on the blue link there. Scroll down, we also have special public meetings. We don't have any in the system right now, but they'd appear here as well. And if I scroll down further, now we're looking at a calendar of these public meetings. All right, consumer comments. If I'm a logged in user, I have the ability to submit a consumer comment. By clicking submit a comment, we'll show that later on. I also have the ability to view any of my previously submitted comments by clicking on this button here. Email lists. So I can click here to view email lists within the system. So the first grid that you see here is a list of subscription lists. So I can search for a particular subscription list if I wanted to. So I just searched for the docket or PUC activity ES25, and now I can see the subscription list here. And if I scroll down, now I have a view of the service list or listservs for these PUC activities. I could also search here. I can download the subscription list. That'll just give me a list of this view that I'm looking at here. So I would see, let's say if I just clear the search, we see a lot here. So if I wanted to just download this list of subscription lists, I can click download here. Listserv, same thing, I can click download, and later on we'll walk through the specifics of that. All right. I'm going to click on my name up here at the top right, Nicole Roberts. So first we've got some general information. This is when I click on Nicole, now I'm getting information that's specific to me as the logged in user, starting with my profile. Okay, so notice that on my profile, some of these fields are editable. When I created a new portal user, I have the ability to update those, and if anything changes along the way, I can come in here and make that update. The red asterisk signifies that it's a required field, so I must fill in my first, last name, email, and my phone number, but I can update that information. So here's my current address, but if I wanted to come in and change it, I could just make an edit here. Let's say my address updated to 12 Main Street. I could update that here, and then as I scroll down, I can click update in order to save my changes. This is also where I can opt in or out of certain types of emails. So let's say that I subscribe to multiple different lists. I can opt out of certain information like reminders or action required emails. I can opt out of all emails as well if I just check that box to yes. So you're automatically emailed throughout, throughout the portal. If you submit a new filing, if you respond to a discovery request or submit a discovery request, if you submit a consumer comment, you get an automated email. And so this is where you can opt out of that. I'm going to click update because I did make a change to my address. Right. Now let's see, I can click on my drop down up here to look at my comments. Also notice that because I'm on my profile, I can see these same items over here on the left-hand side, excuse me. If I click on my comments, I can see any consumer comments that I've submitted through the portal here. I can click view details to actually view more information there. My email lists. This is giving me a list of any email list that I have subscribed to. So first we've got my subscription lists. And you might remember this from when we viewed the contact record for Nicole in the ADS internal side, the PUC side. So here I subscribe to this particular PUC activity. And also I'm on the listserv for ES25. So I can see anything that I'm on the listserv for and anything that I've subscribed to here. My actions, because I have access as a filer at my organization, I have the ability to see my actions. So I have the ability to search, to filter my search if I had a lot of actions submitted. Because I'm a fairly new contact, I really only have a couple. We can see that I submitted an ES application. I also submitted an amendment to that application, so I can see these details here. And if I click on new ES application details, that's going to bring me to the action record that I submitted, and I can view those details. My PUC activities. These are PUC activities that my organization is participating in some fashion. So to start my PUC activity access, right now, I don't have particular access to any confidential or contested PUC activity, but if I did, I would see that here. Later on in the week, we will see that Nicole does gain access to confidential or contested PUC activity. If I scroll down a little further, we can see my public PUC activities. These are all the public PUC activities that I'm on the listserv for. So we saw that I was on the listserv for ES25, so now I can see that here. And if I clicked on this dropdown, I can view details. All right, and my private PUC activities. These are any PUC activities that I'm on the listserv for that are not exposed to the whole public. However, they are exposed to me as a member of the organization who is on the listserv, as well as the PUC on the internal side. All right, my organizations. So I've clicked on my organizations, and now first it's giving me a list of roles that I have within the system. So I know I'm an administrator, a filer, a data requester. For Aon Nexus Electric, if I belong to multiple organizations, I would see those roles listed here. So let's say if I was a filer for another organization, that would be listed right down here. And it would say, no, it's not my primary, because my primary is Aon Nexus Electric. And here's just a list of these organizations. I've only got one. And I can click right here to view details. I can also click on this caret. Because I'm an administrator, a data requester, and a filer for this organization, I have 3 different views that I can get by clicking on these. If I wanted to view administrator details, I'd click here. If I wanted to view data requests related to the org, I'd click here. Actions, I could click on the filer details here, which I'll go into detail later on. My access requests. When I first register as a new portal user, which we'll show in a moment, the first thing I need to do is submit an access request, requesting access for a certain organization. So I came in here a couple days ago and I requested administrator access for my new organization, Aon Nexus Electric. When I submit a request for administrator access, then PUC approves it. Any requests submitted for the organization that are not for administrator access, for filer, for a data requester, or for read-only, the administrator has the ability to approve. So basically, PUC approves the admin, and everybody under that gets approved by that admin for that organization. I can also create a new access request from here if I needed to. Now, because of my roles that I've got, filer, data requester, administrator, I'm seeing some additional items down here. As the administrator, I can see organization access requests pending my approval. So if anybody wanted to belong to my organization, they could submit an access request and I would see it here and approve it. We'll show that later. Organization actions. These are actions related to any organizations that I'm associated with. So starting at the top, my organization actions, I can see there are 2 actions for ES25. I can see those here. I can view the details of them as well. And any actions that require amendments are going to show up in this grid here. We'll walk through that process later, but basically if PUC says we need some additional information, this is only conditionally accepted, then that would show up in this grid here. So I could open it up and then amend my action with some more additional information. Lastly, we've got organization discovery requests. I'm able to see this because I have the data requester role within my organization. I don't have any discovery requests yet, but if we did, they'd show up here. Any discovery that I'm responding to is going to show up in this first grid, and any discovery that I requested will show up here. I can also add new discovery requests by clicking create from here. All right, let me go back to the homepage. So that is a high-level overview of the portal. And next, we're going to walk through the process of registering a new portal contact and requesting access to the new organization that we're going to create throughout this process. And so for that, I'm going to hand it over to Dave. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. Now, basically, when you first get to the portal, you'll probably want to log in, create an account, and that'll allow you to actually participate in PUC activities or actions, items, discovery, items going on within the portal. You'll need to create an account. So Dave is just going to start out as a totally new person coming into the portal for the first time.
Yep. So we're going to start out on the public-facing portal landing page. If you're registering a new contact, you're going to want to go to sign in at the top right corner.
And if anybody's following along and they haven't made an account before, feel free to join in on this process. Anybody can do it. You don't have to be a licensed PUC user to participate in the public facing portal.
Yes, and if you lag a little behind, feel free to let me know and I can slow down for you. So first, you're going to want to click, as a new user, you're going to want to click sign up now. So here you're going to want to enter your email address that you're using for this training session. Right. So once you enter in your email address, you're going to want to click send verification code. This is going to send a code to your email address. So I'm just going to take a second and go on the back side and get that code.
So this just sent a verification code directly to the email that he put right there.
Once I get that code, I'm going to enter it in here. And then I'm going to click verify code. Once that's been verified, it'll allow you to type in your password, your new password, and then confirm that new password. So I'm just going to.
If you already have, if you already have an account on the test portal that we're using for training, if you already have that email in use, then you won't be able to do this register part, but of course you can follow along as we create access requests. A lot of you already have access for organizations that you've created in this system.
Yep. So once I've entered in all that information, I'm going to click create. This is just going to take a second to run in the background, but once the account has been created, it's going to bring you to that page that Tara just recently showed you before, but with less items on it. You'll see on the left-hand side, I don't have all those previous sections that Tara was able to show on her contact record.
And that's just because he has yet to request access. So once he gains access to an organization, then we'll see more of that information populate on the left-hand side.
Yep. So you're going to want to update all the required information before you move forward. For the sec. I think it is, just use this address.
Good one.
And then scroll to the bottom, and then again, Tara covered this. This is where you can initially opt in and out of emails. For the sake of training, I'm just going to update this and leave everything opted in. So once that's been created, you'll see it brings us right back to the landing page of the portal. And now that,
That's a different name.
so now that I've just created my contact record, I'm going to want to submit an access request on behalf of the organization that I'm either going to be representing or am an admin of.
Right, so the first organization access request that he needs to submit has to be for his primary organization. So if you are representing multiple different organizations, let's say that you are part of a law firm and you're representing, 3 or 4 different organizations, the first access request that you need to submit must be for that primary organization, that law firm. So, which is not exactly the case here. You're just going to have a new utility company.
Yep. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click new access request. So up here on the top left of the form, you'll see represented organization. If I am somebody that has already created an account and wants to come in and register with a already created organization, I'd click on this, and this will give me a list of all organizations that are actively in the system. And here I can just click in and then select, but for the sake of this, I'm going to create a new organization. And this new organization is going to be the organization that I am representing as admin. It's going to be called Aon Nexus Solar. And you're going to want to check this box that this is your primary organization. And I'm going to want to request the role of administrator. Of course, if you're coming in here as a filer and a data requester, you're going to see a larger list here. But since I'm a very new contact representing a new organization, I'm only going to see administrator.
And to explain that, basically, if you're creating a new organization that has yet to exist in this system, you must be an administrator. That must be the first role that's requested for this organization. That way PUC can approve your admin access and you can from there, approve any filer or data requester access that comes afterward.
Yep. And so I'm just going to enter in the description of requesting admin role, please. And I'm going to click submit. And now you'll see that the grid shows that I have sent in a new access request for the administrator access role. You'll see the request status is new, but there's no organization currently there because it has not been accepted yet.
Right, so because he requested a new organization, we're not going to see that populate until the access request is approved, the new organization is created, and then we'll see that in the system right there.
Yep. And so now we're going to go to the back office solution, and I'm going to be acting as an AHD that is going to approve this request. So as an AHD, I would go to my dashboards and click down and go to AHD action items. Here, you'll see I have a list of tiles. The tile that I'm looking for this is access request pending PUC review. You'll see the record that I just created. It has my name on it and the organization is blank, but we'll click into the white space to enter this organization or enter this record. Here you'll get a brief overview of everything that the user has submitted on the portal side. You see that I've requested role as an administrator. I'm requesting a new organization as Aon Nexus Solar, and this is going to be my primary organization.
And just to back up and give that context, the contact Mitch Roberts that we just created in the portal created a new access request. And now AHD support is going in to approve the administrator access for that role at that organization.
Yep, and if you look in the top right in the header section, you'll see that it's pending PUC review right now. And now I'm going to go into the granted access role and I'm going to grant the administrator access role. Once that's been approved in there, I'll click approve request and I'll click yes.
And so you'll note that you do have the ability, they might request administrator access or they might request filer access, and you might say, I don't think that's what you mean. I'd like to just give you data request, or I'd like to just give you read only. You do have the ability when you're approving a request to give them a lesser role if you don't want to give them the role that they requested. Or maybe they requested filer, but then their description describes that they want the job of administrator. So you say, you know what, I'm going to make you an administrator.
Yep. And so once you've entered in all that information, you're going to want to click save up top in the ribbon. And you'll see once I've saved the record, a couple things have populated and changed. Decision date has been populated with the current date, and the approving user, which is myself, has been updated as well.
So that's the AHD support user. And of course, you're going to see us consistently using a few of the same names because we just, have a few different logins for this. But Dave is acting as the AHD support user right now.
Yep. And then you'll see in the top right-hand corner as well that pending change to approved since I've accepted this record. And now we're going to go back to the public-facing portal side. And this is where I'm going to give it a little refresh. Of course, in real time, it wouldn't happen this quick. Usually you'd have either some time in between, but this worked very quickly and the organization has populated and we can see that the request status has been changed to approved. And when I click up here in the top right corner now, you'll see that I have my comments, my email lists, my PUC activities, my organizations, my access requests, and organization access request pending my approval. And I'm just going to take a look at organization access request pending my approval. This is going to be where any other access requests that are submitted will end up here. And you now, as the administrator of the organization, have the ability to accept whether a filer, a data requester, or a subscriber. Next, now that we've gained access as an administrator, I'm going to quickly show you how to gain access as a filer. So we're going to click new access request again, sorry.
So for anybody that's following along, we're going to walk through the same process, only now we're requesting filer, data requester access. So it'll be a little bit repetitive, but basically the process is the same, only this time, because the organization was already created, Dave isn't going to look for it in that new organization field now, or excuse me, he's not going to type in his new organization. He can find it in represented organization.
Yep. So back to this top left part, the represented organization. Now that my organization exists in the system, I can click on the magnifying glass, and I'm just gonna do a quick wildcard search for Aon. And I'll get a list of all organizations containing Aon in it, and you can see that Aon Nexus Solar is right here. Once it's been selected, I'm gonna click select. And again, now that we have this organization here, we do not have to put anything in this field right here. Since we're not representing a new organization and the organization already exists in the system, there's no need to actually input anything into this section now. Is this your primary organization? Yes. And now you're going to see that admin is not the only option available in this drop-down menu. You're going to see that data requester now exists, filer, and subscriber. And so I'm going to request access as a filer, and then add a quick description. And click submit. And like you've seen previously, the request has filtered into this view and grid down here. You're going to see that the organization now populates and shows because this is an organization that already exists in the system. The requested access role is filer, and the request status is now new. Now, since I am both playing the part of new filer and admin, I can go to organization access request pending my approval.
So this is where any access requests for this organization go. The administrator has the ability to approve. So of course the administrator is approving their own access as filer. But if you were another user and you requested access to Aon Nexus Solar Inc., you would also have your access request filter into this list for Mitch Roberts to approve, or for anybody with the administrator role.
Yep. And so now, as the admin of this organization, I can click down on this caret and click view request. And this is going to look very similar to what you saw when the AHD was accepting on the back office solution side. You're going to get very similar information, the contact, the organization, the requested access role, and if that is the primary organization of that contact.
You also see on the right side contact information. This is just giving you a quick view perspective of Mitch Roberts. Who is he? What's his phone number, his email, his address, his primary org, just some background on him so you have more context when you are approving or denying this access request.
Yep. And so like before, we demonstrated before, you're going to come down to approve request. You're going to click yes. And now you'll see once I've clicked yes for that approve request, you'll see that this granted access role has now become required. It's not going to let you submit without granting an access role, access request role if that approved request is marked to yes. So we're going to come in here, we're going to select filer, and then we're going to click submit. And I'm just going to give it a quick refresh. And now,
do a control F5 and give it a hard refresh. So because we are in real time submitting requests and approving them in the exact same breath, the system might take a moment to catch up. While it's catching up, if you want to submit the data requester access request.
So now I'm going to show you how to submit the data requester access role. And this might seem a little repetitive, but
last one.
Yeah, it's just good to get a visual on it, So we're going to click new access request. We're going to go and look for that Aon Solar Company once again.
And while Dave is going through this process, are there any people on the call who are also walking through it with us in real time?
All right. So again, we're going to say that this is our primary organization. And this time we're going to request the data requester role and add a description really briefly. And
from what I can see, the participants, I think a lot of you guys have already gained access to different orgs through the portal in previous UAT sessions.
Yes, and I'm sure some of you might have gone through this already, and it might be repetitive, but
last one, yeah.
So we'll click submit.
This is going to line us up for any processes that we're going to walk through in the portal throughout training throughout the rest of the week.
Yep, and so you'll see the other previously submitted access request roles, and you'll see the new one that you just created as well. And now that I'm also the organization admin again, I'm going to go to my organization access request pending approval.
So while Dave walks through that, I'm just gonna talk over him and kind of explain the different roles in the system. The filer role gives you access to submit actions. The data requester role gives you the ability to submit discovery requests and also respond to discovery requests. The admin role, obviously, as you can see, is responsible for this bit right here. There are a few other pieces to the admin role that we're going to walk through later on today. They can update organization addresses. They can update contact information like their contacts addresses. So if their contact changed their address, well, they have the ability to do it themselves. The organization admin can also take care of, those administrative details. So what Dave's doing right here is refreshing, clearing the cache, since we're showing this in real time. And so what we're seeing now is that if you click on Mitch Roberts, you've got a lot more information here in this nav bar.
So now that I am a filer, I have organization actions as an option here on the dropdown. And like Tyra described before, the My Organization Actions will give you a quick glance at what you have either submitted as an action, any actions that are currently active in the system. And then if you are a data requester, you also have the organization discovery requests in your drop-down menu. And this just shows you my organization's discovery requests, ones that I'm responding to, ones that I've sent out as a request. You can see here on the grid, I can also submit a new discovery request right then and there.
So now Mitch Roberts has access as a filer, as a data requester, and an admin. The next piece that we're going to talk about is gaining confidential access to a PUC activity or multiple PUC activities. So for that process, I am going to go back to sharing my screen. Does anybody have any questions before we move into confidential access? Does anybody have any questions on requesting access as a filer, data requester, or admin for an organization? All right. Okay, so I am sharing my screen to walk through the process of gaining confidential access to a PUC activity previously known as docket. If I wanted to participate in a contested PUC activity, I would need to first file a petition to intervene through the ADS portal. Once that gets approved, I would be given non-confidential access to that PUC activity, as would everybody from my organization. So if I'm the filer, I'm the one who submits that petition to intervene. It's on behalf of my organization that I submitted it as. If I wanted to see confidential or highly confidential information for that PUC activity, then after I submit my petition to intervene, PUC would take it from there. They would create a law judge ruling to approve the petition to intervene. Then after that, I can file signatory pages to request confidential or highly confidential access. To start right now, I'm Nicole Roberts. I'm a filer at my organization. You can see it because I have access to these action bits right here. So I'm a filer at my org. And I'd like to participate in a confidential contested PUC activity. I'll show you which one I found over here. So I found this PUC activity by looking at PUC activities in the nav bar, scrolling down, and I'm going to open up this one, advice, PUC activity, your details. And of course, this is all dummy data that we created in the system just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so now if I look at this PUC activity, I can scroll down here to see actions for this PUC activity. I noticed that one of the actions related to ADV 1376 has confidential information on it. So I'm just going to show you how I found that. I clicked on one of these action records, other filing pleading, because I saw that there are documents included. I also saw the description let me know, hey, there's confidential information. So I viewed details. And I saw that the confidentiality of this action is set to confidential, which means some of the files in here are confidential. But when I scroll down, I only have access to non-confidential documents. I don't even have the ability to see if, what those uploads look like. for confidential. So that's what prompted me to decide that I need to request confidential access to this PUC activity. So I'm going to take a step back here, and I'm going to submit a petition to intervene so that I can participate in this PUC activity. There are multiple places that you can create a new action from. One of them is on the PUC activity record. So right now I'm looking at, let me scroll to the very top, ADV 1376. So I'm seeing different information for ADV 1376. And I can click create right here to create a new action record that's automatically associated to this PUC activity. I also have the ability to create actions from here, submit an action. I have that ability because I'm a filer. Okay, so I'm going to, I guess I'll show you the more normal way. I'll go to submit an action. When I click on submit an action, it brings me to a landing page with some general information for how to go about submitting an action. I've got these two buttons right here. One is that I can create an action to an existing PUC activity, or I can create an action to create a new PUC activity. So in this case, I know that it's for a PUC activity that exists. I'm going to click on this button right here. And it's going to bring me to a submission form so I can begin filing my petition to intervene. All right, so I clicked on that magnifying glass in the PUC activity field, and it brought up a list of PUC activities. Let's see, I'm searching for ADV 1376. There it is, that's the one I want. So I click select. Now I pick my action group. In this case, it's filings pleadings. Now, because I selected filings pleadings, when I look at my action type, it's going to give me a filtered list of any action type that is filings pleadings. And I'm looking for a petition to intervene. So I click there, select. Everything looks good on this screen. So now I can move on to the next step in this submission process. It's loading, takes a moment. All right, so now I have to select which organization I'm representing. Now, Nicole only belongs to ANX's Electric, but if she belonged to multiple organizations and she can file on behalf of multiple organizations, I would have to select particularly which organization this filing is in reference to. All right, so submitting, wishing to intervene. Participate. Activity. Tags, any tagging information, you saw that on the PUC side, the internal ADS side, but on the public facing portal, you also have the ability to include tags. So electric, if I wanted to add multiple, I can do it by adding a space. Go. And would I like to duplicate this action to another PUC activity? Nope, I just want to submit this petition to intervene for this one PUC activity. The information that you're viewing right here is very general to most actions that you submit throughout the portal. So this process is going to be very familiar, regardless of what action you submit. I click next. And this is where I upload documents associated to my petition to intervene. So if I had any documentation on this, I can add it to the non-confidential folder, highly confidential and confidential. As a portal user, it's important to understand that you are responsible for putting these into the right folder. So in this case, I'm going to upload a file to my non-confidential folder. All right, I'm going to click add files, choose file, and select an option here. Let's see. Got a couple documents ready for this. Okay, add files. I can see the document that I just uploaded right here. I'm going to click upload added files. All right, and that's all. So I'm going to click submit. Everything else looks good. If I needed to make a change, I could always click previous to update the information I already put in, but I'm going to click submit. So now that I've submitted my petition to intervene, I will receive an email that says, yep, you submitted this successfully. AHD support is going to review it. Now I'm waiting for PUC to make a law judge ruling to approve my petition to intervene. So let me just go over to my actions. So now I'm on my actions as Nicole, and if I scroll down, I can see that I did just submit this petition to intervene. The filing status is under review. I'm waiting for the filing status to be accepted. They need to create a ruling in order to fully grant me that petition to intervene access. That's going to give me non-confidential access to the PUC activity, AD 1376. Once that goes through, that's when I'll be able to submit signatory pages, and that's where I request confidential access. Let's see. So when I'm filing signatory pages, I'm just going to show the portal perspective for right now. And later on in training, I think we've got a couple days before we get to it, but we're going to cover what this looks like on the PUC side. But if I wanted to submit my signatory pages after my petition to intervene was approved, then I would go back here to submit an action. And really, the only difference is that when I submit this action, I'm going to submit it as the action type petition to intervene. So let's see, I'm choosing my PUC activity. It's the same process. Action group is filings, pleadings. Action type, this time I'm looking for signatory pages. So I'm just going to type signatory up here, and it gives me any results that include that in the word. You can use the wildcard search if you want to give you broader options. So I click signatory page. Now, the only real difference between what this upload experience looks like, or this submission experience versus the petition to intervene, is that when you're submitting signatory pages, it'll ask you what level of confidentiality are you requesting. So I know I already have non-confidential access if my petition to intervene was approved, but now I can ask for confidential or highly confidential access. So I can ask for confidential here, and then I would continue through the process, and PUC would handle it on their side from here. Those are all pieces that I'll show later on, but I do just want to give you the perspective of somebody who already has confidential access. So let me just switch screens and refresh. So I'm showing you, for the sake of this demonstration, Patricia, who's a totally different contact who already has confidential access to this PUC activity. And what I've done is, I'll start from the top. I clicked on PUC activities. I found the PUC activity that I want to review, the view details. So Patricia already has confidential access, and this is how I can be sure. Now I'm looking at the actions related to this PUC activity, and when I click on that other filings pleadings, when we looked at it as Nicole, it only let us see, you'll see this load in a moment, it only let us see non-confidential documents, and Patricia already has her signatory pages submitted and approved. Sorry, you're seeing this because Patricia's an administrator on here. And so now she's able to see the confidential folder. If she wanted to see the highly confidential folder, of course, then she would submit signatory pages and request highly confidential access. But she can click on this folder here, and it brings us to a document details page, and she can click on the document itself to view and download it. All right, and just to give you a perspective of what Patricia looks like, who's already gone through that access, if we go to my actions, I can see I submitted a petition to intervene, and I submitted my signatory pages, and both have been accepted. That's why I'm able to see that confidential information. And let's see, if I go to, maybe hopping around a little bit, let's see, my PUC activities. If I go to my PUC activities as Patricia, now I can see my PUC activity access. I've got non-confidential access to UI 471. That probably means that I submitted my signatory pages, but nothing else. ADV 1376, I submitted my, oh, excuse me, this was the petition to intervene, UI 41471, and ADV 1376, I submitted my signatory pages for, it was approved, and I was given confidential access, and I can just validate that here. Does anybody have any questions on submitting a petition to intervene or signatory pages? I know we just walked through the portal perspective, and later on we'll walk through the PUC perspective of this process. All right. So next up, we're going to take a look at some of the other functionality within the portal. I'm going to go back to being Nicole. I'm going to click the home button. Now I'm in the middle of submitting this action and I didn't finish. So if I click on home and then I try to submit an action again, it will bring me back right here. And the benefit of this is that if you need to leave the form and come back a day later when you have more information, it'll be here waiting for you. So I'm just going to click on the home button. All right, so to start off, just going to talk about Nicole. She's got access, much like the contact that Dave created. She's got access as a data requester, a filer, and an administrator. So we're going to see pretty much everything the portal offers, starting with managing the organization information as a portal organization administrator. I'm going to start by clicking on My Organizations under my profile. I can see the roles that I've got, and then if I scroll down, I can see the organizations I'm associated to. It's just the one. Now we saw this earlier, and I'm going to actually click on it. Administrator details. So depending on which one of these I click on, I get slightly different information. And since I have all three roles, I get to choose from all three. So I'm looking at Aon Nexus Electric, which is Nicole's organization. And I have the ability to edit the address here. So like I did for Nicole's profile, I can update the address. Now we're on 13 Main Street in Oregon. And that's just one of the functionalities that I have as admin. If I were coming in here as a filer or a data requester, I'm not able to update the address of the entire organization. It's just something that I maintain as the admin. I can click Save Changes down here just to update my address officially. All right. And I also wanted to walk through, let me go back to my organizations and show you what it looks like to manage my contacts. Click on this, admin still. I could have also clicked the back button too. That works. Company contacts down here at the bottom. Now we're seeing all the contacts associated to this organization, but notice that there are names more than once, and that is because certain people have multiple roles. And I think we've definitely covered that Nicole has all three roles. We've also got that Patricia's an administrator here and that Tara is a filer here. So this is where, if I wanted to, I could click remove contact. So if I didn't want Tara to be a filer at my organization anymore, I could remove the contact. If that was Tara's only role at the organization, then she's no longer associated to my organization. If I wanted to just take away one of somebody's many roles, like I no longer need to be a data requester, I can remove that. And it's just going to remove their data requester role. I'd still be a filer, I'd still be an administrator. So you do have the ability to pull people out of your organization. Also, if I click on, let's say, Patricia, now I'm able to view Patricia's contact details. So this is just general information about Patricia. We saw that she has the ability to edit this on her own profile, but this is just giving me a perspective of the contacts that are at my organization. I can also see what other access she has within the system. So Patricia actually belongs to quite a few organizations. And I'll click back over to this tab. So if I'm the organization admin right now, and there was I was retiring, basically somebody else would come in, they would register on this portal, or if they're already a registered user, they would just go ahead and submit an access request to be the organization administrator. You can have multiple organization admins at a company. And PUC would go in and approve the org admin like we saw earlier when Dave went in as AHD support and approved the org admin request. So then another person would be the org admin, and then they could go ahead and remove me as Nicole from this organization. And that's basically how you would, transfer over to a new person. They would just go in, request administrator access, and the rest would fall into place. So another functionality that I have just as a logged in user is looking at email lists. We saw this earlier. These are all the subscription lists in the system. While each PUC activity has a subscription list, if I click on I searched the term order, there's also an order list. So if I really care about all orders across the board, this is a list that I'm able to subscribe to. So if I click on list details, nobody right now is subscribed to the order list. Of course, it's dummy data, but if I want to, I can click subscribe right here. It tells me that I'm subscribed. It will take a moment to refresh, so we'll see that a little bit later. But all set, I'm subscribed to orders because I care deeply about them. I also have the ability, if I scroll down, to just view the listservs. As an organization admin, PUC will give me access to, or sorry, will put me on a listserv. So if I need to be on a listserv, I can ask PUC to do that for me and they would handle it. And then from there, if I'm on the listserv, I can add others to it. I do that from manage email list. So let me just click on that. Manage email list. This is because I am an administrator that I can even see this page. So I can manage the subscription list for the PUC activity that my organization initiated. And I can also manage the listserv. So I'll click right here, view details. So now I am, we're waiting for more verbiage to go into the portal, but I am an organization admin, and my organization is the one that initiated ES25. And so I can see that I'm on the listserv for ES25. And as such, I have the ability to continuously add people to this listserv that are from my own organization. So I do have to choose, when I add somebody, I have to choose the organization that I represent. And then from there, I'm only going to get a list of contacts who do belong to that organization to add to this listserv. I can't just go add other people's contacts to a listserv. Looks like Tara and Nicole are already on there. I'm going to add Patricia. I can add a description if I'd like to. And submit. So because PUC put me as the admin on this listserv, I now am able to add people from my organization to this listserv like that. All right. And lastly, for this section, we're going to walk through submitting a consumer comment via the portal. So I'm going to click on consumer comments. And now I have the ability to either submit a new one or view my comments. I'll show this after we create one. Let me start by clicking submit a comment. All right, so starting out with the type of comment, depending on which option I choose, I'll have a few different fields exposed to me. So if I wanted to comment on a public meeting, now I have to say which public meeting I'm commenting on. If it's for a PUC activity, I've got the PUC activity right here. Suppose I will comment on a public meeting. So now we've got a lot of options for public meetings. Let's go with this guy. All right, and PUC activity. So now I have to choose which PUC activity on that public meeting that I'd like to discuss. Let's see. They're random. I'm just going to go with this guy. All right, and now here's where I get to add my comment. Okay, and click next. If I had any documents to upload with this comment, I could do that from here. So if I click add files, choose files, we saw this process earlier. I can click on a document from my file explorer, click open, add files, and now I'm adding an attached file to this comment. So maybe I wrote my comment out in a Word document and updated it here. Oh, I see that Mike has his hand up.
Yeah, Tara, hey, question on the PUC activity. After you put in the public meeting and then you go to PUC activities, that's going to show all activities. That's not going to limit it just to the activities in that public meeting.
So let me take a look. Oh yeah, currently it's showing all of them. We do have the ability to filter it. So I can filter out, basically, depending on the public meeting that I chose, I can filter that list to only give me certain PUC activities.
Okay.
I'll make a note of that, Dave. You want to write that down? Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
I think I closed out of this guy here. Okay. All right, I uploaded my document and now I'm ready to submit my consumer comment. It's just a general comment on this public meeting about a PUC activity. And as Mike said, so we'll filter the PUC activity lookup so that you can only choose a PUC activity that actually does belong on the public meeting that you chose. All right, so there's my comment. If I wanted, I could go in and just, view the details of what I submitted previously, but really at this point now it gets submitted to PUC. So if we were going to take a look at that on the PUC side, I am going to log in as consumer services. Of course, I am a system administrator. for the sake of this demonstration, but let's pretend that I'm a consumer services user. I've got my own dashboard. Let's see, consumer comments. Okay, and consumer comments pending consumer services review is the first tile here. We can see the one that Nicole just submitted through the portal is showing up right here. We can also see any comments that are pending AHD review show up here, manager review, and just in general, all of the consumer comments that are active. So I'm going to click on this first one right here. So I get some general information about it. I can see the comment. It's a read-only field because, of course, that's something that Nicole submitted, so I don't have the ability to edit. I can view the related document by clicking on it right here, and it would open it up for me. If I go over to the PUC review tab as consumer services, now I have the ability to edit this information if needed. So with the example we just gave, maybe this PUC activity isn't on this public meeting, or maybe I know that they're really talking about a different PUC activity. They're not really talking about this one. So, or maybe it has nothing to do with the public meeting and they were wrong. I can update that information here. Let's see, what were we working with? 13.6. So if needed, I have the ability to make that change. A lot of users will just have read-only access to this consumer comment, but because this is my job as consumer services, I'm able to make some edits. Staff comments. Okay. Go ahead and click save. Notice right here it says saved, or it'll say unsaved. That lets me know I have changes pending. If I were to exit out of the record, when I make a change but don't save, it will stop me and ask if I really do want to leave or if I'd like to save first. So just a little safeguard. All right, so now I'm going to scroll down to consumer services review. This is where I make my update. If I wanted the manager to review it, I would click Needs Manager Review, and it would send an email to the Consumer Services Manager list. That would let the manager know that they can come into their dashboard. We saw the dashboard with the tile for Consumer Comments Pending Manager Review. That's where they'd click on it. I can walk through that process quickly right here. Needs Manager Review. So let's say I just wasn't sure and I wanted somebody else to take a look at it. So I click Needs Manager Review. And then the manager received an email, they logged in. And we're going to go to Consumer Comments. So now under the tile Consumer Comments Requiring Manager Review, we can see Nicole's consumer comment. I'll double click on it to open. Back to the PUC Review tab. And as manager, I take a look at it and I say, okay, this is good. The review is complete, but I would like AHD support to take a look at it because I think that, you know, perhaps this could be an actual action in the system rather than a consumer comment. So I said requires AHD support review and I click save. Notice that the AHD support review field itself updated to needs review. All right. So now back on consumer comments, we can see that there's a tile for consumer comments pending AHD review. So AHD support would go in here and double click on Nicole's comment. Of course, this would be multiple users logging in as themselves. Right now, I'm just showing you from this system administrator perspective, but realistically, in between each of these steps, you'd receive an email notifying you. You'd go look at your dashboard, you'd see it in the dashboard, and you'd know you need to take action. All right, so I'm going to scroll down here, and I decide my review is complete, but I'd like this consumer comment to be converted to an action. And of course, PUC would use their judgment on when this process would be necessary. This is going to change this consumer comment over to be an actual action related to a PUC activity in the system. And that's why I associated it over to this PUC activity that I've been working with lately, just for reference. So I'm going to click save. Now it takes a moment for this process to take place, but basically, once I click convert to action equals yes, eventually we're looking for an action to populate in this actions converted from this consumer comment. Give it a refresh, it usually takes a moment. All right, and now if I look at this grid, I can see that an action record has been created. I can see it was submitted by Nicole Roberts, that's who submitted this comment. I can see it says portal submission, the filing status is under review. That means AHD support would see it on their dashboard for the filing acceptance process. I can see that it's associated to that PUC activity, ADV 1376. Double click into it. And I also noticed that the comment that Nicole left is actually the description here. And depending on the details inside the consumer comment, when you auto create this action, you'll either need to fill in the action type in the action group, or it might pre-populate based on if it was, specifically associated to a public meeting. You might get that the action type is a public meeting agenda item, something like that. So, or excuse me, a public meeting comment. So basically at this point, the action was created and it would go through the filing acceptance process. That's something we cover later on, so I won't go into too much detail here. But we can see under AHD support action items dashboard, the tile new actions pending AHD acceptance. We do see that comment that Nicole left right here. So then AHD support would go ahead and accept this action, and eventually it would be published to the portal under the PUC activity ADV 1376. All right, so I'm going to take a pause at this point and see if anybody has any questions or comments on any of the processes that we've shown so far. I see Mike has his hand up.
So, yeah, thanks, Tara. And this all makes sense. So originally when you were in the consumer comments section, AHD took some action, but I don't know if they're going to actually be in that dashboard a lot. So it will show up on their dashboard, something that requires action.
Yep. So I'm scrolling down. Good catch. I'm scrolling down on the AHD support action items, and we can also see here that we've got a tile for consumer comments pending AHD review. So maybe you're right. They might not find themselves in the consumer comments dashboard very often. And so they do have that right here. And basically the action items dashboards, there's a principal action items dashboard. Those are the call to action. So anytime something really does need AHD support's attention, you'll see it in this dashboard. And that's this tile right here.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right. So I think we were scheduled to take a short half-hour break at 1:30, but we're at a really good breaking point right now. So would it work for everybody if we took a half-hour break starting right now? Would that mess up anybody's schedule?
Nope.
All right. Thumbs up. Sounds good. All right. It's 1 o'clock Eastern time right now. Let's meet back at 1:30. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.